Hey everybody, Hunter Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and just a country cook, Steve Hall here in Nashville, Tennessee, along with Pretty Miss Sheila, doing a great job on that camera as usual. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
I have had so many requests for so long to do venison breakfast sausage. Now, there's a lot of great companies out there. I think Backwoods makes a real good one over at Bass Pro. I go down to Butcher Supply here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I get Old Plantation seasoning. It's a good breakfast seasoning, but one of the problems with buying these is in most cases on the shelf they only got a package that does 25 pounds. 2 pounds or 1 pound is not quite enough for me. 25 pounds is way too much, because if you're going to mix it 50-50, who's got 12.5 pounds of venison, ground venison laying around? But you might have 3 pounds, 2 pounds of pork, and make a 5-pound batch. And I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm grinding in this little teeny grinder head that I got for my KitchenAid, because I got a great big stainless steel one over here. It's my Thunderbird grinder I bought out of Canada 100 years ago for about $575, but it weighs about 80 pounds to get over here and set up. And I thought, for this small batch, I'm going to use this little grinder. And if you'll come on over, I'll show you what we're going to do today to make the best venison breakfast sausage I think you ever ate. Now, I'll tell you, I'm pretty fussy about keeping everything nice and cold. The 2 pounds of ground pork are still in the refrigerator, and I kind of alternate it between the refrigerator and the freezer because I want to kind of just keep it crystallized so it's nice and real super cold. Same thing with this venison here. It just came out of the freezer because I knew I was going to be handling it out here, and I usually cut up little strips. Now, the venison I'm going to grind, the pork, I bought 2 pounds of ground pork at the store. Now, you can buy Boston butt or front shoulder pork and grind it up yourself, but I just bought 2 pounds because it was already done, and I'm going to grind a little bit of this to get going. I'll put this grinder on about 4. This apparently is their little wrench and plunger at the same time in the same little handle. And I wanted to save just a little bit of meat to go through last, because I want to put in one of my 2 secret ingredients right now. In fact, I'm going to stop this and tell you what it is. I've got 2 ingredients that I call my secret ingredients today. One of them is over here to the side. It's a seasoning that I'll tell you about. And the other one is, when you grind this up, your venison and your pork, and you mix it all together and you put in your seasoning, I don't want to put cure in here because I don't want to have to take it outside to smoke it to get that smoke flavor. I don't want to pour liquid smoke in it, although liquid smoke is a good product. Please don't get that wrong, because I use it in a lot of stuff. But I got thinking, what would be smoky flavor, still be pork, and delicious? So I'm going to try something that I think is fantastic. I cut both ends off a pound of bacon, and I'm using the fatty ends. That's one end. That's the other end, and the middle third is still in the refrigerator for breakfast tomorrow. So I'm going to see how this pork bacon grinds up in this grinder here. It goes down the chute there pretty easy. Looks like I don't even have to use a plunger. Look at it coming out of there. And I'm going to put in about 2/3 of a pound of ground hickory smoked bacon in our breakfast sausage. Then to follow it up, I'm going to put in one more chunk of venison. Where's my little plunger? There it is. Kind of looking for the other one that goes with my other grinder. Look at that. You wouldn't think that there's that much fat in bacon, but there certainly is. And we're going to grind that up and put it right in our sausage. Chased it out with a little bit of venison at the end so we can get it out of there. Now here's a trick that I do. I let it run until it's almost completely done there. Turn it off, kind of wipe the excess off. Then I'm going to have Sheila take this grinder head and actually go lay the whole grinder head on a dish in the refrigerator, because I want the meat out of here, but I don't want to assemble it now because I'm working on something. So I'm going to hand that to her, and she's going to take that in the kitchen, and we'll be right back with you. Well, thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
I hate to waste any venison at all. I do the same thing with my big Thunderbird grinder. I take that big grinder head right out of the motor. I take it in, lay it in the refrigerator, so when I'm done doing everything else, I can go in there and disassemble it and pull the meat off, and it hasn't laid there at room temperature. So that little grinder that was in this KitchenAid over here, that little grinder head is sitting in there on a plate in the refrigerator staying nice and cold. I'll disassemble it, make a little hamburger patty or something out of it, or a venison burger patty, but I will not throw it away. Now, over in this bowl I've got 3 pounds, just a little under 3 pounds because I left room for my bacon that I ground up. And over here we got ground pork. Now this just came out of the freezer again, and you can see what I do when I get these big chunks of a whole pound of pork is I don't come over here and flop that in and flop something else in and try to mix it. So I tear it off in little teeny pieces like the size of a nickel or a quarter, so I can put them little chunks already kind of disassembled, broke down, so to speak. And this is just ground pork from the store. I didn't grind this up from a Boston butt or anything. I'm going to put it a little bit in there. Then I'm going to put in a little bit of that venison bacon mixture. Kind of flop it around. I'm kind of pre-mixing. I like to do it this way. I know it seems like a kind of a insignificant thing to mention in a video, but I just like to already kind of have it pre-mixed in chunks. I tear it apart. Now you can make this recipe, by the way, with just 5 pounds of ground pork. You don't have to put venison in. You can use 60-40, 50-50. Right today I'm actually about 60-40. 3 pounds of venison to 2 pounds of pork, except for that bacon. Don't forget the bacon that's in there. And then it's time for our spices. Now, believe it or not, while I'm getting the spices ready, and I'm going to talk to you about this, this is going back in the refrigerator. I like to keep this product nice and cold. Be right back with you. There you are, Sheila. Thank you. All right, our venison is in the refrigerator, staying nice and cold. Before we get into the spices, I got to tell you about this little unit right here. I bought this online the other day, and I just love it. It's a little Krups grinder that grinds up coffee for in the morning, but it also grinds up spices. And I have really fell in love with that because there's so many spices that I use that are kind of like in bulk form. Instead of dumping them in there, I ground them into just a powder, and the flavor is absolutely fantastic. Now, I got my little phone laying here because I kind of emailed myself my recipe, and I'll tell you something. You can cut up pork. You can use all pork, half venison. You can grind up Boston butt. You can do that. Everything comes down to the 3 most important things about sausage. Seasoning, seasoning, and seasoning. You're going to want to write down this ingredient because it's going to be your new secret weapon when you give venison breakfast sausage to your friends. They're going to say, where did you get that? You can say, oh, it's a top secret recipe that I have. So in our 5 to 6 ounces of cold water, we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Let's see if I can't start to get this a little bit dissolved in here. Whisk that in there. We're going to put in, I got like 3 things or 4 things that have 3 tablespoons. And again, I'll put all the ingredients in the description box below, so you don't have to go to a website to get any of our recipes. You never do. In here is, in this little thing that I ground in this little grinder here, is 3 teaspoons of rubbed sage, 3 teaspoons of black pepper, 3 teaspoons of kosher salt, and 3 teaspoons of parsley flakes. And they're all ground up real fine in there. Man, you ought to smell this stuff coming up out here. It's just fantastic. Get that all mixed in there good to help dissolve them spices, to get them spread out evenly over our meat when we pull it back out of the refrigerator. Now I got to tell you about one other thing. Now let me check my notes because I took all the rest of the seasoning and dumped it in this one little cup here. And I put in a 1/4 teaspoon of dried marjoram, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, a 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, and 1 teaspoon of thyme. Now let me tell you something. When I lived in Brainerd, Minnesota years ago, and they really know how to make breakfast sausage up there, them old swamp stompers up around northern Minnesota, in Brainerd, there was a place called Al's Old Fashioned Meat Market. He has since retired years ago, but he made the best and most delicious venison breakfast sausage. Everybody took it there. Now, I know I can hear all you hunters out there screaming on the other side of the camera saying, hey, you know, Jim's processing down here, he makes the best venison sticks. And this guy, everybody's got their favorite place. Hey, I'm with you on that, man. If that's where you get it done there. But when I went there, I could taste a certain taste. And I even talked this over with my Uncle Bob for several times through the years before he passed away. I said, there's this one spice, and I can't figure out what it is that makes that venison breakfast sausage taste so wonderful to me. And I discovered what it was. Of course, it's all mixed in here together. But when I finally was going through another recipe that I did for a friend of mine, it's on our channel. I think we put hash browns and pork together and make kind of a breakfast sausage with hash browns in it. I run across the seasoning. Now, everybody will say, well, I knew that for years. But when I smelt it, that was the ingredients, and it's thyme. You've got to have that seasoning in there, and that's the recipe that they used. It had that thyme in there. That specific, I should say, herb in there is so fantastic. I just wanted to make mention of that. And I think there's a company up in Bemidji, Minnesota, that bought all of Al's Old Fashioned Meat Market's grinders and stuff, and I think they bought his recipes too, so they might be making it up there. But that's what's in here. We're going to dump that in and come on over, and I'm going to show you the second special ingredient. Remember the secret ingredient was the bacon? Let me show you what the other one is. All right, here's the special ingredient that my buddy told me, man, you got to try this in your breakfast sausage. Orange zest. Well, there's a little trick to making orange zest. You only want to get the outer part of the orange, because if you get into the white part when you're grating it, it gets bitter. Well, I did a little investigating, and you know me, I love to do store-bought stuff. If somebody can grind it or cut it and make it for me, I'm going to have them do that. And I found out this is a real popular spice company, Spice Islands, and they've got an orange peel, and they say on the back here that you can use the same equal amounts of this as you do orange zest for all your recipes. But they also mention on the back that we're very specific of only using the very outside edge of the orange to make sure it's not bitter. You wouldn't believe what that smells like. Well, it smells like oranges, but it's so cool. And I took this and I put this in my little grinder and I buzzed it down, and I'm going to put in about a half a teaspoon, because they can always put more, but you can't take it out. A half a teaspoon of orange zest. Now, you can get some oranges, but you're going to have to grate them, and you're going to have to make sure that you don't get in the white stuff, and then you're going to have to eat the orange when you're all done, or you can just go get this stuff. Now, they did not have this at Kroger's. As you go down through spices, you know they put it on the shelf alphabetically. You get the onion powder and oregano, and it goes on, but I did find it over there. Where did I buy this today? Publix. At Publix. So I got it at Publix. They do have it. Or you can just look online and they've got it. But it's Spice Islands Orange Peel. And I'm telling you, you want to put a fantastic flavor in your venison breakfast sausage with all these spices I mentioned. Mix it up with a little water. Before this gets too much to room temperature, let's bring the meat back and we're going to mix it up. This is going to be so delicious. Let's go ahead and pour that around as even as we can get it. Then it's time for the hard work. You got to get in there and kind of mash it around a little bit. And we're not going to over mix this. We just want to get it to where we incorporate all the seasoning to pretty much all the meat. And then of course we want to get the pork and the bacon and the venison looking pretty consistent all the way through. Kind of folded. I got the biggest bowl that I could find up on the shelf there. Of course, I made Sheila go get it for me. That was really kind of neat, because it was just right on her little tippy toes. She could just barely get this off the shelf. I was laughing at her, but she got, oh golly, hold on a second. Wow. We've got this pretty mixed up here now. Kind of like me, pretty mixed up. But we got it all mixed together, and now we're going to do something. We're going to put some cellophane on this. We're going to put this in the refrigerator overnight, and then we're going to run it through the grinder one more time in real fine plate. There's two different plates. I ground it initially with a coarse plate, and there's a little teeny plate here. I'm going to grind it through there one more time, and then we're going to make some breakfast sausage links in the morning, and there's two reasons I want to let this set and age overnight. One, so that all the spices will mingle with all the meat, and two, I got my stuffer over here, and I don't have the right size tube for the right size collagen cases, and I'm going to use collagen cases because Sheila don't like anything that she thinks comes out of a pig and stuffed with meat, so I'm going to have to use collagen cases. They're edible, And I like the natural casings, but I'm going to try to do the other one so that she'll eat that breakfast sausage. But we'll see you tomorrow, and then we'll continue with what we got going here, making the best venison breakfast sausage that everybody's asked me to make for a long time. Here it is. See you tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow, or it's today, or it's tomorrow from yesterday. But anyway, that meat's been sitting in the refrigerator for 24 hours. I got my regular grinder out because I didn't want to mess with the little one. I wanted to use this one today. And every sausage maker out there will tell you, after you get everything mixed up, sample it. Take a little patty. So before I even grind it the second time, I was up early this morning, got a little handful, made some breakfast and fried up some of that, and I want to change the recipe a little bit. I had Sheila get me a couple more ounces of water here. I'm going to put in 1 more teaspoon of red pepper flakes because I want to turn up the heat a little bit. And I want to put in 1 more tablespoon of sage because that flavor wasn't quite strong enough for me. And I'll put all these in the description box below, so don't worry about it. Another tablespoon and a half, heaping tablespoon, maybe even 2 tablespoons of brown sugar because it wasn't quite sweet enough for me. So let's go with a third one, and you can test it at home and see what you want to do. But I'll put it in the description box below, 3 or 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, and again, a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper extra. And we're going to mix this up. We're going to go get the meat out of the refrigerator because you know me, I leave it in there till the very last second. We're going to put these other spices in there just to turn the flavor up. And I know it's perfect then because I tried it this morning. When Sheila came in here and sat this bowl down and pulled the cellophane off, you should have smelt the seasonings were so fantastic coming up out of there. But I'm just modifying a little bit. You know me, I tweak all the time. And I don't mind telling you, if I don't like something, I don't like it. It was good, but I want it as perfect as possible. So when you make it at home, it'll be exactly what we make here, and you'll be happy with it. Just want to kind of mash that in there pretty quick. And that's the nice thing about this meat grinder that I got over here. And Sheila, I'm going to have you get a shot of this. Now this tray up here holds a lot more meat than that little teeny tray. In fact, it holds all 5 pounds easy in here. And I like to start this down the tube and kind of pack the meat down so that the little corkscrew don't go around very much before it starts bringing meat out the front. All right. Let's turn it on. We're running this through a fine plate. And this will really regrind this meat. Boy, this meat's so cold. And I guess that's the way it's supposed to be, coming out of the freezer there. Keep it nice and cold so when we're done processing it, there we go. Almost do better pushing it in there, then running the plunger down. Fantastic. Can you see this product coming out of the grinder there, Sheila? Fantastic. Almost looks store-bought, like my Uncle Bob used to say, buddy. That's so good, that'd sell. Well, let me get the rest of this ground up here. Sheila, thank you. She even helped me run that plunger down there to get the rest of that meat through there. And look what we have here. Finished, ready to do whatever we want to do with it. We're going to make a few patties. And I'm also going to put some in my stuffer and make some breakfast links, and I'll show you the finished product. All right, we're loading our stuffer up here, and I've been packing that meat in all the way down to the bottom, make sure it doesn't have any air pockets in it. We're going to fill this up pretty much, because I want to make some breakfast links. I kind of get lazy. When I get done with sausage, I want to turn it all into patties. I'll save a few for patties right here, but I'm going to turn this all into sausage links, because I really like them. Let's put this in the stuffer. All right, I got the meat all the way out to the end of this horn here. I'm going to slide this little casing on here and see how daring we can do with this thing. Well, looky there. Look at our little sausage breakfast links. Kind of holding it on the horn there and letting them slide out, just add a little meat, push it out there. That's turning out pretty good. Well, I'm going to have to make these more often because this turned out pretty good. Got Sheila holding the table over here because this stuffer is bolted down in the back with two big clamps, and it still wants to scoot around here. So now this casing that I'm using is a 21 millimeter, which is just about perfect for breakfast links. I thought it would be too small, but that meat really puffs that casing up good. You got to realize, don't look at the hole in the middle, look at the outside of the casing. We're about 2/3 of the way down there. Let me stop for just a second and wind our sausage up a little bit. We're just looking too professional here. Looking pretty good, don't you think, Sheila?
Looks really good.
Awesome.
Looks like it's plenty of it.
Yes. This casing that I'm using here, in fact, I got about half of one left. This had 2 full-length tubes in this little bag. And I took one out and I was kind of goofing around the other day checking it out. And I left it out of the bag and it dries out and it's shot. So I only had one left. But those 2 tubes will do 20 pounds. So I only used half of it here. And look how much casing is still on the horn. And look how much meat we got. And we probably got close to 3 pounds of meat. And it isn't even half of that little, fibrous casing there. So, or collagen casing, I should say. We'll go back to doing some more stuff. And we're almost done. Because the inside piston is just about all the way down there. Well, Sheila, what do you think? Yeah. Ah. Well, I thought we would never reach the bottom of that little stuffer. This is a little 5-pound stuffer. And looky here. Look at our breakfast sausage. Now that we got this casing stuffed, don't let rolling these into little links scare you because it's really easy to do. What you want to do is do every other one. Now, there's some guys that wind it one way, then wind it the other way and do all that. But if you'll just pinch, like this one here, we twist it forward, go up here and pinch, and leave this one alone, and go to the next one, and turn it forward. Then go up here, pinch, don't do anything with this one, and go to the next one, up here, and pinch, and turn it forward. And that's how you make links every other one all the way down the line. Well, there you have it. Look at here, links and patties. And I should have left those twisted a little longer before I cut them, but I wanted to cut them up for the picture and all that stuff. Made a few little venison breakfast sausage patties here. This is really a treat. I am thrilled to death. I'm going to fry some of these up. We're going to have them tomorrow morning for breakfast, freeze the rest of them. That way we'll be good for a while. And now remember, you can use all pork, 5 pounds of pork, ground pork. You can grind it yourself. You can buy it at the store. Just use that seasoning, and then tell me what you think. Venison breakfast sausage, just like you asked me to make. So I made some links and patties. This is the fun part. Of course, now I got to go in the kitchen and clean the grinder and the stuffer. Sheila will help me with all that. But you know what? That's kind of fun, too. The whole process is a lot of fun. And that's the difference between buying it in the store and making it yourself. You know where all the meat came from, especially if you use a lot of venison. And the recipes can be tweaked the way you want them. Spicier, less sweet, more heat, all the above. I hope this recipe is something that you enjoy. Try it at home. And the nice part about these little 5-pound batches, if you make something that you're not really happy with, you don't got 25 pounds of meat that you have to eat up when you use one of them big packets from the store. So make little batches like this. Then you can keep tweaking till you find the perfect recipe. And who knows, this might be it. I hope you subscribe to our channel. Little Shotgun Red's face will pop up over here right in just a minute or two. If you click on that, it'll say subscribe with a check mark. Right next to that word subscribe will be a little bell. If you click on that and put the little wiggly lines that go on either side, makes it look like the bell's ringing. That means you're going to be notified every single time we come out with a new recipe, and we hope you do that. We'll put another recipe up over here that we hope you enjoy. And is this the best homemade venison breakfast sausage you ever ate? Boy, if it ain't, it ought to be. We'll see you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. Sheila, you were so much help with the grinder and the stuffer and doing all the stuff and in the kitchen. And I wish people knew how much you did because you just do terrific. So you know what? I'm going to make you some breakfast and I'm going to cook you some sausage in the casing, but it's not out of the pig. It's an actual casing, man-made, but it's edible. You'll love it.
I know I will.
I'm not sure I got the answer I'm looking for, but we'll see you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. See you next time. Bye-bye. Sheila, you break me up.